Jake's hands trembled in the silent darkness of his office as the clock struck midnight. He felt a sinking emptiness deep in his chest, an emptiness he recognized but wished desperately to deny. The startup he had poured every ounce of energy and passion into was officially bankrupt. He stared at his desk, covered with unpaid bills and final notices, feeling the crushing weight of failure suffocate him. Each heartbeat was an accusation, each breath a painful reminder that he wasn't enough. Perhaps you've felt something similar, the cold grip of defeat, the dizzying spiral of self-blame, the cruel whispers of your own mind declaring your dreams impossible. But here is a truth rarely spoken out loud. That darkest moment, the one that nearly breaks you, isn't the ending of your story. It's the quiet beginning of your greatest transformation. Jake's despair wasn't simply personal. His body and brain were responding exactly as they were programmed to. Neuroscience has shown us that rejection and failure trigger the very same brain regions as physical pain. This isn't coincidence, it's biology, a survival mechanism evolved thousands of years ago when isolation meant certain death. In that moment, Jake wasn't just feeling business failure, he was experiencing ancient, primal fear. The same deep, instinctual fear you felt during your hardest times. Yet hidden in this pain lies an extraordinary paradox. The struggles we dread most hold the deepest potential for our growth. Marcus Aurelius, the legendary Roman emperor tested by war, betrayal and loss, discovered a profound truth in his darkest days. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Imagine your greatest setbacks not as barriers but bridges, carefully placed to lead you exactly where you need to go. History quietly proves this truth again and again. Every meaningful breakthrough ever made, every scientific discovery, every inspiring work of art, every thriving business emerged from the ashes of previous failure. Thomas Edison, after thousands of attempts to invent the light bulb, famously declared, "I haven't failed, I've found 10,000 ways that won't work." His resilience wasn't born of ease, it emerged directly from hardship, struggle, and repeated disappointment. Tonight, before you close your eyes, think deeply about your own setbacks. What if these painful moments hold invaluable wisdom? What if every struggle you've encountered was not random cruelty, but a teacher guiding you towards strength you never knew you possessed? Jake didn't stay in that dark office forever. Within weeks, he took the lessons from that painful night and began building something new, something wiser, more aligned, and ultimately successful. Your greatest falls, no matter how devastating, carry within them the seeds of your most powerful beginnings. The choice isn't whether you will fall, it's whether you'll rise. Inside you exists a quiet but relentless battle, a silent war between your doubts and your determination. Each morning, as your eyes open to the new day, the first voice you often hear is your own fear, whispering softly, "You're not good enough, it's too late, you might fail again." These subtle whispers aren't just random negativity, they're echoes from your past, reflections of the deepest hidden parts of your inner self. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung spent his life exploring these hidden inner worlds, calling this neglected and fearful part of us the shadow. Jung explained simply and profoundly, the shadow is the part of you containing everything you prefer not to confront, insecurities, shame, fears, buried deep inside, hidden from everyone, including yourself. Yet the secret Jung discovered was profound. This shadow isn't an enemy to defeat, but an ally to embrace, waiting patiently to be seen, understood, and transformed. Consider your inner dialogue carefully. Maybe in your own private moments, you've told yourself things like, "I always mess things up, I'm not ready for this," or "Others are simply better." These words create invisible walls around your potential, trapping you in cycles of hesitation and regret. But what if your doubt wasn't there to hold you back? What if it existed precisely to challenge your courage, sharpen your resolve, and prepare you to embrace your greatest gifts? This idea echoes the powerful wisdom of Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher whose own life was marked by illness, isolation, and struggle. Nietzsche observed profoundly, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The meaning you give your struggles, the purpose and vision you assign to your journey, is the strongest weapon against self-doubt. When your reason for enduring becomes clearer and brighter than your fears, doubt begins to lose its grip. Yet here lies a powerful contrarian truth rarely acknowledged. We've been taught never to give up, to persist at all costs. But true determination isn't about clinging stubbornly to old dreams or outdated identities. Sometimes genuine strength is recognizing when it's time to let go, not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the stories, beliefs, and limitations that once defined you. Consider the Olympic gymnast who courageously walked away from the sport she loved. Not from defeat, but from self-awareness, recognizing that her true calling lay elsewhere. Her determination wasn't rigid persistence, it was profound wisdom, the courage to rewrite her story, embracing her next chapter fully and fearlessly. Today, right now, you possess the exact same power. Your inner dialogue is not fixed. The stories you've told yourself for years about who you are, what you can accomplish, and what you deserve, they can all be rewritten. Your narrative isn't something life writes for you, it's something you actively create day by day, choice by choice. So pause for a moment. Identify clearly one negative story you've told yourself repeatedly, something you've quietly allowed to limit your life. Now imagine rewriting it. Instead of "I always fail," it becomes "I'm learning and growing stronger from each experience." Instead of "I'm too late," it becomes "I'm exactly on time for my unique journey." Changing this internal narrative isn't wishful thinking, it's a courageous, powerful act of reclaiming control. Your doubts won't vanish immediately, but each day you get another opportunity to choose differently. Your hidden battle isn't there to defeat you, it exists to awaken you. The question is no longer whether doubt will visit you, but whether you'll greet it as an adversary or as an ally. Your strength isn't measured by the absence of fear, it is defined by your courage to rise precisely because fear is present. Sophia sat frozen at her computer, her heartbeat quickening as she stared anxiously at the publish button. For months she'd poured her heart into this project, convinced it needed one more revision, one more round of edits, one more day. Each time her finger hovered over the mouse, her mind whispered familiar warnings. What if you're not ready? What if they laugh? What if you fail? Maybe you felt this too. The paralyzing hesitation that keeps your dreams just out of reach, trapped forever behind the illusion of perfect readiness. Scientists call this phenomenon analysis paralysis, the state of endless overthinking, planning, and preparation that, ironically, makes you less prepared and less likely to act. Recent studies have revealed something astonishing. 92% of people never achieve their dreams, not from lack of talent or desire, but because they never dare to take that first imperfect step. Each delayed action doesn't just slow you down, it actively erodes your confidence, embedding deeper fears, heavier doubts. But there is profound wisdom hidden within this very uncertainty. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher who quietly shaped the world's understanding of courage, famously wrote, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Notice he never spoke of a perfect step or absolute certainty. He spoke simply of taking action, imperfectly, vulnerably, courageously. Let me tell you a story you've probably never heard, a story that profoundly illustrates this truth. In 2014, Jiang decided to confront his crippling fear of rejection head-on. Instead of waiting for courage, he embarked on a bold experiment, seeking rejection intentionally every single day for 100 days. He asked strangers for impossible favors, fully expecting to fail, and he did repeatedly. But with each imperfect action, Jia discovered something transformative. Each rejection hurt less. Each failure taught him more. and his confidence quietly blossomed. By the end, Gia didn't just overcome his fear. He had transformed himself into someone bold enough to embrace uncertainty entirely, eventually building an influential platform that inspired millions. There's a powerful paradox embedded here, something no one ever told you clearly. Waiting until you feel completely ready is precisely what guarantees you'll never become ready. Your readiness isn't found in more preparation, it's found precisely at the moment you step forward, imperfectly into the unknown. The instant you take action, even a small one, your fears lose their power, your doubts begin to fade, and momentum emerges, guiding you onward. Today, right now, let me challenge you directly. Think of one meaningful action you've avoided taking, one thing you've delayed until you're ready. Write it down. And now commit deeply and bravely to doing it today, no matter how imperfectly. Maybe it's sharing your work, starting the conversation you've avoided, or taking that risk you've postponed. Whatever it is, take that step. Sophia finally clicked publish that night, heart racing, hands trembling. It wasn't flawless, but it was brave. And from that single imperfect action, her entire life changed forever. Your life won't be transformed by perfect plans. It will be defined by imperfect actions taken courageously. Progress beats perfection every single time. Michael lay silently in his hospital bed, just staring up at the sterile ceiling tiles, listening to the quiet hum of machines around him. The doctors had just delivered devastating news. He'd likely never walk again. Sports had always been his identity, his dream, his purpose, and now it all felt shattered, impossible. Everyone around him spoke about resilience as if it meant simply bouncing back, effortlessly reclaiming his old life. But Michael knew, deep inside, resilience wasn't simple or glamorous. It was private, messy, and painfully vulnerable. You know, perhaps you've experienced this too. Real resilience doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers in quiet moments of exhaustion, urging you gently to keep breathing, keep believing, keep moving forward, even if just 1 inch at a time. Psychologist Angela Duckworth dedicated years to uncovering the true nature of resilience, and she found something rather surprising. She discovered that neither talent nor intelligence accurately predicted long-term success. Instead, the strongest predictor was something quieter, subtler, yet infinitely more powerful: grit, a combination of relentless perseverance and passionate commitment, often invisible to others. Grit isn't flashy confidence, it's waking up tired, yet choosing to rise anyway, confronting uncertainty and moving forward even when your spirit aches. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca understood this profound truth clearly, writing, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body." Seneca saw challenges not as unfair burdens, but as purposeful opportunities, strategically placed trials designed explicitly to forge resilience, wisdom, and inner strength. Yet there is a powerful contrarian side of resilience rarely discussed openly. Society celebrates resilience as stubborn persistence, never quitting, never yielding. But true resilience, the deeply transformative kind, is far wiser, more nuanced. Sometimes resilience means recognizing when to pause, adapt, or even let go. Consider Amy Purdy, whose story you might not know. At 19, Amy lost both legs below the knee due to a sudden illness. Initially devastated, she fought to cling desperately to her old identity, longing for the life she'd planned. Yet true resilience emerged not from holding on tighter, but from accepting reality and bravely reshaping her dreams. Amy didn't simply bounce back, she reinvented herself entirely, becoming a champion Paralympic snowboarder, motivational speaker, and an icon who inspired millions worldwide. Her resilience wasn't blind persistence, it was courageous adaptation and acceptance, followed by purposeful reinvention. Michael, lying quietly in his hospital bed, began to see his life differently too. He realized his identity wasn't locked to his legs, sports, or the dreams he'd originally held. His resilience emerged quietly, invisibly. Each morning he chose to face his day, to move forward even through tears, pain and uncertainty. Eventually, he didn't just survive, he adapted, evolved, and built a life filled with meaning and inspiration he never anticipated. Your resilience is no different. It's not loud or dramatic, it emerges quietly in your hidden moments of struggle, your private choices to keep going despite feeling overwhelmed. Your scars, emotional or physical, aren't symbols of weakness. They're trophies of quiet courage and wisdom earned. Wear them proudly. Right now, pause briefly and reflect. What specific challenge are you facing in your life today? Ask yourself a profound question. How can I view this struggle not as punishment, but as an opportunity for profound growth and deeper resilience? Because true resilience isn't just surviving pain, it's consciously allowing it to teach, shape, and ultimately transform you into someone stronger, wiser, and more authentic. Emma's eyes stung with tears as she stared at the rejection email glowing harshly on her screen. Her novel, the one she'd poured years of late nights, hope, and passion into, had been rejected yet again. The crushing weight of familiar self-doubt crept back into her mind, whispering cruelly, "You're not talented enough, you're wasting your time." Perhaps you've heard these same whispers echoing within yourself, the same old story you've carried for years, that your setbacks define your limits. But here's a truth nobody ever clearly told you. That story you've believed about yourself isn't carved in stone, it's waiting quietly for you to rewrite it. Dr. Dweck, a pioneering psychologist, revealed through decades of research that our potential isn't determined by talent or intelligence. Instead, it hinges profoundly on one hidden factor, our mindset. She identified two distinct ways of approaching life. A fixed mindset, believing your abilities are static and your setbacks permanent, and a growth mindset, knowing deeply your talents and potential can evolve dramatically through persistent effort and intentional learning. Those who embraced this growth mindset didn't just endure challenges, they actively used them as stepping stones toward extraordinary growth and fulfillment. But here lies a powerful paradox. Simply thinking positively isn't enough to rewrite your story. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the unimaginable darkness of Nazi concentration camps, understood this deeply. Amid profound suffering and loss, Frankl discovered something astonishing. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Frankl didn't merely imagine positivity, he consciously chose the meaning of his suffering, actively rewriting his narrative from helpless victim to purposeful survivor. Now consider Oprah Winfrey, a story you might know in part but rarely fully appreciate. Born into deep poverty, Oprah experienced early trauma, abuse, and repeated setbacks, including being fired early in her journalism career. Yet Oprah consciously chose to see her pain differently, not as evidence of inadequacy, but as fuel for profound empathy and unshakable purpose. She rewrote her internal narrative, transforming childhood wounds into powerful compassion, early career failures into determined resilience. Oprah didn't succeed despite her hardships. She succeeded precisely because she consciously reframed them, turning suffering into a narrative of extraordinary meaning and inspiration. Pause here and reflect honestly about your own life. What's the story you've been quietly repeating about yourself, the limiting belief you secretly carry around like heavy baggage? Perhaps you've told yourself, "It's too late, I'm not capable enough," or "My dreams are unrealistic." Now imagine vividly what your life could become if you chose differently, if you consciously rewrote that negative story into something empowering. What if your setbacks were guiding teachers, your failures hidden invitations to growth, and your struggles purpose-filled preparation for something extraordinary? Emma, sitting quietly in front of that cold rejection email, made a courageous decision. She consciously rewrote her internal narrative. She took a deep breath and whispered clearly to herself, "This rejection is not a verdict on my potential. It's a powerful lesson guiding me toward greater wisdom and resilience." That single mindset shift didn't erase her pain, but it transformed her reaction, her motivation, and eventually her destiny. Over time, Emma's rewritten story shaped not just her actions, but her entire life. Today, right now, you possess that very same profound power. Your story is never truly fixed unless you allow it to be. You hold the pen firmly in your hand and the blank page waits patiently for your courageous choice. Rewrite your story consciously, intentionally, truthfully, because the story you tell yourself today determines the life you'll live tomorrow. Liam stood in the stark silence of his empty apartment, cardboard boxes surrounding him like silent monuments to a life suddenly unrecognizable. Just days earlier, he'd lost his job, a career he'd proudly built over years, and ended a relationship he believed would last forever. He'd always defined himself as resilient, someone who never surrendered. Yet standing here now at this threshold of painful endings and uncertain beginnings, Liam felt utterly lost. Maybe you've been here too, at a crossroads where old dreams crumble, familiar identities shatter, and the future feels painfully unclear. But hidden in this exact moment is an ancient truth, symbolized vividly by the myth of the phoenix, a powerful bird who deliberately consumes itself in flames only to rise again, renewed, stronger and wiser. The phoenix doesn't resist the flames, it welcomes them, knowing profound rebirth requires complete surrender. Confucius, whose quiet wisdom still resonates centuries later, expressed this truth simply and profoundly. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Yet the real secret isn't merely rising back to where you were before. True rebirth requires something deeper, more courageous. It demands fully embracing your endings, intentionally allowing your old self to dissolve, so someone stronger, wiser, and more authentic can emerge. Let me tell you a story you might not know, a story embodying precisely this extraordinary truth. Yusra Mardini was a young swimmer forced from her Syrian homeland by war. Crossing treacherous seas as a refugee, she found herself in a sinking boat. Instead of surrendering to despair, Yusra dove bravely into dark waters, swimming tirelessly for hours to help pull her fellow refugees safely ashore. Yet her true rise began quietly afterward, when she arrived in a foreign land, forced to let go completely of her old dreams and identity. Rather than resist her painful losses, Yusra courageously surrendered to them, reinventing herself profoundly and purposefully. Eventually, she didn't just survive, she became an Olympic swimmer, profoundly inspiring millions worldwide. Here's a deeply contrarian truth rarely shared clearly. Sometimes real persistence doesn't mean holding on tighter. Sometimes persistence requires bravely letting go of past identities, outdated dreams, or limiting beliefs. Sometimes the wisest and most courageous action is allowing your old self to dissolve entirely, trusting deeply that something extraordinary will emerge from the ashes. Liam, standing quietly in his empty apartment, began understanding this profound paradox himself. Instead of clinging desperately to who he'd always been, he consciously embraced the unknown, surrendering fully to uncertainty and possibility. Over the following months, Liam didn't simply rebuild his life, he intentionally reinvented himself completely, guided by quiet courage and deepening clarity. His losses became catalysts for profound personal transformation, leading him eventually to a life richer and more meaningful than he'd ever imagined possible. Today, right now, let me speak directly and clearly to you. Perhaps you're facing your own crossroads, endings you've quietly feared, losses you've mourned privately. Pause a moment and ask yourself honestly, what if these painful moments aren't random or meaningless? What if they're profoundly purposeful, designed specifically to reveal your deepest potential and power? Like the phoenix, your true strength doesn't come from avoiding ashes, but from courageously rising from them. The endings you face right now hold hidden invitations for extraordinary renewal. Embrace them bravely, trusting deeply that your greatest power, wisdom, and authenticity emerge not from your comfort, but directly from your darkest moments. Now, I invite you personally, share your own story of rebirth, renewal, or struggle in the comments below. Your words may become exactly what someone else needs to hear to rise again themselves. Your story is far from finished. Your true rise is only beginning.